On June 19, 2006, gaming journalist Brian Dawson eagerly anticipated the release of Super Dragon Ball Z on the PlayStation 2, a game designed for players who enjoy traditional fighting games. While this was his most awaited Dragon Ball Z title, he acknowledged that Atari recognized a broader audience of DBZ fans who were not necessarily hardcore fighting game enthusiasts. For those players, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 was set to launch later in the year. Since before E3 2006, Dawson had the opportunity to speak with Daisuke Uchiyama, the chief producer at Bandai Namco, who was working on both Super DBZ and Budokai Tenkaichi 2. Dawson reflected on his connection to the Dragon Ball Z series, noting that it was his first anime that he had truly engaged with. While it had since dropped on his personal favorites list, he recognized that the series remained a top anime for many fans. His passion for anime led to engaging discussions with Uchiyama about the future of DBZ games, the challenges of developing for the Nintendo Wii, and various other DBZ-related gaming topics. One of the primary questions Dawson posed to Uchiyama was why Super DBZ was not being developed for next-generation consoles. With the Xbox 360 already established in the market and the PlayStation 3 set to launch later that year, it seemed logical to bring the game to newer hardware. Uchiyama explained that DBZ fans had been purchasing games on the PlayStation 2 for several years, and while some of them might upgrade to next-gen consoles, many would still own a PS2. Given that Super DBZ was designed for an audience that had matured since the release of the first Budokai game, it made more sense to keep the title on current generation hardware. Uchiyama then highlighted that Budokai Tenkaichi 2 would be coming to the Nintendo Wii. When asked about the transition from PlayStation 2 to Wii, he expressed some hesitation. The development team aimed to create a game that would utilize the Wii Remote in a way that would appeal to DBZ fans while ensuring an enjoyable game experience. However, not all mechanics required for a DBZ game translated seamlessly to the Wii Remote, making it a challenging endeavor to develop a well-balanced DBZ title for the console. When discussing the possibility of Namco's established fighting game teams working on a DBZ title, Uchiyama laughed and admitted that, in an ideal scenario, the Tekken or Soul Calibur teams would have taken on the project. However, by the time Bandai Namco merger finalized their deal, both Tekken 6 and Soul Calibur 4 were already in development, making it impossible. Dawson also inquired about online play, noting that other fighting game franchises such as Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and King of Fighters had successfully implemented online modes. Uchiyama expressed enthusiasm about the idea of online functionality for DBZ fighting games. However, he emphasized that he did not want to simply replicate those standard online modes seen in other fighting games. Instead, he envisioned unique and exciting online experiences tailored specifically for DBZ titles. Looking ahead, Dawson asked Uchiyama about the future of DBZ games beyond Super DBZ and Budokai Tenkaichi 2. While no official announcements had been made by Atari at Bandai Namco, Uchiyama essentially confirmed that sequels for both games would be developed for next-generation hardware. His comments strongly suggested that the development team was already exploring the possibilities of new consoles and that future DBZ titles would likely include online features. For Super DBZ, Noritaka Funamisu, the former producer of Street Fighter 2 at Capcom, and his development studio Crafts and Meister had been brought in to enhance the fighting game mechanics. With Spike and Dimps having previously handled all DBZ fighting games on the PS2, the decision to work with Crafts and Meister was notable. Given Namco's strong reputation for fighting games with franchises like Tekken and Soul Calibur, Dawson asked Uchiyama whether one of Namco's internal teams might develop a DBZ title in the future. Uchiyama reiterated that while this would have been an ideal scenario, existing commitments to Tekken 6 and Soul Calibur 4 have made it unfeasible. This conversation remains the only time a sequel to Super DBZ was ever teased. Despite Uchiyama's comments hinting at a next-generation follow-up, no other further mention of a sequel ever surfaced. Neither Bandai Namco nor any of the developers involved in Super DBZ revisited the idea, and the game quietly faded into history as a one-off entry in the Dragon Ball Z fighting game lineup. Curious about this forgotten detail, I attempted to reach out to Brian Dawson on Twitter, hoping to ask if he remembered anything more about the supposed sequel. However, his account has been inactive for about 3 years, leaving this brief mention of a Super DBZ sequel as little more than a lost footnote in DBZ gaming history.